Welcome, 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 everyone. It is so nice to have you here for our August Bookaccino live event. We're interested in reading. First is Kate Quinn. It's the Briar Club. Second one is The Days I Loved You Most by Amy Neff, one of my recent Book Reporter bets on selections. I love this book. Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. This book is getting a lot of buzz, everybody. Get ready for it. It's on my to be read pile. I think it's 2 down at this point. Bad Tourist by Cara Carvo, which I picked as a bets on selection. Sherry LaPena, What Have You Done? I read half of it on the plane to Colorado. It is so good. And Sherry did a terrific job once again of doing the one sit read. I actually got to the hotel at what would have been 3 a.m. in New York and read for an hour. So that just shows how good the book was, and wrapped it up. My husband's reading it now. And Leanne Moriarty, Here One Moment. Yes, we're waiting for that as well. Okay, so we've got some fiction books to share. And let's start with The Wedding. I just got a copy of this by Allison Espatch. This is a #1 indie pick for August, Barnes & Noble's August pick, and August Read with Jenna pick, and it's on sale now. Okay, so here's what we've got. It's a beautiful day in Newport, Rhode Island, when Phoebe Stone arrives at the Grand Cornwall Inn. She's immediately mistaken by everyone in the lobby for one of the wedding people, but she's actually the only guest in the Cornwall that isn't here for the big event. Phoebe is here because she's dreamed of coming for years. She hoped to shuck oysters and take sunset sails with her husband. She's here without him, at rock bottom, and determined to have one last decadent splurge on herself. Meanwhile, the bride has accounted for every detail and every possible disaster the wedding might bring, except, Phoebe and Phoebe's plan, which makes it that more surprising when the two women can't stop confiding in each other. Sounds like tons of fun, a perfect end of summer book. So there you go, The Wedding People. Next, we've got A Great Marriage by Frances Mays. It's on sale this week. Dara Wilcott, who was in New York for a weekend, meets Austin Clarke at an art gallery. If love at first sight can happen, it happens to them. These two vivid, ambitious people are on different courses, but they will make their lives together happen. At their April engagement dinner at Dara's family home, her mother, Lee, sets a beautiful table, and the family and close friends gather to celebrate. Rich, Dara's father, raises a toast. Suddenly, Lee spills the wine, a brilliant red stain splashing onto the tablecloth and onto Austin. Days later, Austin hears unsettling news from London that wrecks their plans. Dara abruptly cancels the wedding and refuses to reveal the reason. Austin faces a major tragedy, the consequences of which are life-altering. But it's Lee's impulsive visit to London that alters their fate. So there you've got A Great Marriage. And it's like, is that marriage actually happen? Let's just see. Just trying to make sure this is on vibrate. Okay, next. The Book Swap by Tessa Bickers. It's coming on September 3rd. My gosh, how can we be talking about September already? I'm not ready for summer to end, everybody. Like, seriously. So here we've got, still reeling from a recent tragedy, Erin Connolly knows she needs to start living. She has no idea how. When she accidentally donates her favorite book, a heavily annotated copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, containing a memento she can't be without, to a local community library, she's devastated. But then the book turns up a week later, back in the library, with fresh notes in the margins, along with an invitation in a copy of Great Expectations to meet her newfound pen pal. A life-changing conversation written only in the margins of beloved classic books begins between Erin and her mystery man. Following each other through the pages of their favorite novels, as the book exchange continues, they both begin to open up, falling into a friendship and maybe something more. But Erin and her pen pal have a shared history that neither of them has guessed. I really love the idea of this. Okay, writing library books, bad thing, but in this book it works. Next, we've got Colored Television by Danzy Senna, also coming on September 3rd. Jane has high hopes that her life is about to turn around. After a long, precarious stretch bouncing among sketchy rentals and sublets, she and her family are living in luxury for a year, house sitting in the hills above Los Angeles. The gig magically coincides with Jane's sabbatical, giving her the time and space she needs to finish her second novel, a century-spanning epic that her artist husband Lenny dubs her mulatto war and peace. Finally, some semblance of stability and success seems to be within her grasp. But you see this coming, folks. Things don't work out quite as she hopes. Desperate for a plan B, Jane turns her gaze to Hollywood when she finagles a meeting with Hampton Ford, a hot producer with a major development deal at streaming network. He seems excited to work with a real writer. And together they begin to develop the Jackie Robinson of biracial comedies. Things finally seem to be going right for Jane until they go terribly wrong. And there you've got color television. Okay, this book is getting a lot of buzz, folks. It's the #1 indie pick for September. It's long listed for the Booker Prize. The short list for that will be coming in September. Creation Lake is about a secret agent, a 34-year-old American woman of ruthless tactics, bold opinions, and clean beauty who is sent to do dirty work in France. Sadie Smith is how the narrator introduced herself to her lover, to the rural commune of French subversives on whom she is keeping tabs, and to the reader. Sadie has met her love, Lucienne, a young and well-born Parisienne, by cold bump, making him believe the encounter was accidental. Like everyone Sadie targets, Lucienne is useful to her and used by her. Sadie operates by strategy and dissimulation based on what her contacts, shadow figures in the business and government, instruct. In this region of centuries-old farms and ancient caves, Sadie becomes entranced by a mysterious figure. Oops, hold on one second, everybody. Yeah, I went forward. Named Bruno Lancôme, a mentor to young activists who communicates to her by mail. And this is the path to emancipation that forces everyone to sit and come to the conclusion. So there you've got Creation Lake. It's getting a lot of buzz, everybody. Next, we've got Life Impossible from Matthew Haig coming on September 3rd. We remember him as the author of The Midnight Library. When retired math teacher Grace Winters is left a rundown house on the Mediterranean island by a long-lost friend, curiosity gets the better of her. She arrives in Ibiza with a one-way ticket, no guidebook, and no plan. Among the rugged hills and golden beaches of the island, Grace searches for answers about her friend's life and how it ended. What she uncovers is stranger than she ever could have dreamed. But to dive into this impossible truth, Grace must first come to terms with her past. So there we've got the Life Impossible. One second. This historical fiction. From Silvia Moreno Garcia, who is the author of the best-selling novel Mexican Gothic, we've got The Seventh Veil of Salome, which is on sale now. It's August Good Morning America book club pick. 1950s Hollywood. Every actress wants to play Salome, a star-making role on a big-budget movie about the legendary woman whose story has inspired artists since ancient times. So when the film's mercurial director casts Vera Larios, an unknown Mexican ingenue, in the lead role, she quickly becomes the talk of the town. Vera also becomes an object of envy for Nancy Hartley, a bit player who will do anything to win the fame she believes she richly deserves. Two actresses, both determined to make it at the top of the golden age Hollywood, making for a sizzling combination. But this is the tale of three women, for it's also the story of the princess Salome herself, consumed with desire for the fiery prophet who foretells the doom of her stepfather, Herod, a woman torn between the decree of duty and the yearning of her heart. So there you go, The Seventh Veil of Salome. Next, we've got Scandalous Women by Jill Paul, also out this week. 1966 in New York City, Jacqueline Suzanne's Valley of the Dolls hits bookstores, and she is desperate for a bestseller. In London, Jackie Collins' racy The World is Full of Married Men launches her career. But neither author is prepared for the price they will pay for being women who dare to write about sex. 1965 New York City. College graduate Nancy White is excited to take up her dream job at a Manhattan publishing company, but she never could be prepared for the rampant sexism she will encounter. While working on Valley of the Dolls, she becomes friends with Jacqueline Suzanne, and after reaching out to Jackie Collins about a U.S. deal, She is responsible for the two authors meeting. Will the two Jackies clash as they race to the top of the charts? Will Nancy achieve her ambition of becoming an editor despite all the men determined to hold her back? And when we really think about it, Jackie Collins and Jacqueline Suzanne really broke a lot of different tropes that we were supposed to be talking about and things that we were supposed to be doing. And I had the pleasure of meeting Jackie Collins at one point when we first started the book reporter. She called one day. She goes, Jackie Collins for Jesse Kornbluth. I was just there like, oh, this is just so way cool. And she was just lovely every time we spoke with her on the phone. So there we go, the two of them together. By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult is coming on August 20th, and there is lots of buzz about this. It's one of our word of mouth selections, which means in these next 2 weeks, if you go out and tell us what you're reading, you can be eligible to win a copy of this book on our word of mouth feature. And it was also part of our book group speed dating program. Young playwright Melina Green has just written a new work inspired by the life of her Elizabethan ancestor, Amelia Bassano. But seeing it performed is unlikely in a theater world where playing field isn't level for women. And oh, that is true. As Melina wonders if she dares to risk failure again, her best friend takes the decision out of her hands and submits the play to a festival under a male pseudonym. In 1581, young Amelia Bassano is a ward of English aristocrats. Her lessons on language, history, and writing have endowed her with a sharp wit and a gift for storytelling. But like most women of her day, she is allowed no voice of her own. Forced to become a mistress to the Lord Chamberlain, who oversees all theater production in England, Amelia sees firsthand how the words of playwrights can move an audience. She begins to form a plan to secretly bring a play of her own to the stage by paying an actor named William Shakespeare to front her work. If anybody knows the background on Jodi, Jodi has been a playwright. She has had plays that have been on Broadway and in other theaters around the country. So it's interesting to see her take on theater here. Next, we've got The Haunting of Moscow House by Elisa Salnikova-Gilmore. It's coming on September 3rd. In the summer of 1921, and a group of Bolsheviks have taken over Irina and Goliteva's ancestral house in Moscow. Some of these names really throw me, folks. I'm sorry, even when I practice them. The remaining members of their family are ordered to move into the cramped attic, while the officials take over an entire wing of grand rooms downstairs. The sisters know they must forget their noble upbringing to make their way into this new Soviet Russia. But the house begins to whisper of a traumatic past, not as dead as they thought. Eager to escape it and their unwelcome new landlords, Rena and Lily find jobs with the recently arrived American Relief Association. But at home, the spirits of their deceased family awaken, desperate to impart what really happened to them during the revolution. And soon, one of the officials living in the house is found dead. Was this death caused by something supernatural or by someone all too human? And are Rena, Lily, and family next? We'll have to see. We'll have the cover of this one. Next, we've got some thrillers and mysteries. From Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, we've got Angel of Vengeance. It is on sale this week. Constance Green confronts Manhattan's most dangerous serial killer, Enoch Lang, bartering for her sister's life. But she is betrayed and turned away empty-handed, incandescent with rage. Unknown to Lang, Pendergast's brother, Dionges, it's really tough this morning, appear unexpectedly offering to help for mysterious reasons of his own. Disguised as a cleric, he establishes himself in New York's notorious Five Point slum, manipulating events like a chess master, watching Lang's every move and awaiting his own chance to strike. Meanwhile, as Pendergast focuses on saving the unstable Constance in her fanatical quest for vengeance, she strikes out on her own to rescue her beloved siblings from a tragic fate and take advantage of savage retribution on Lang. But Lang is one step ahead and has a surprise for them all. So there's Angel of Vengeance. Next, we've got Worst Case Scenario by T.J. Newman, a book that I did not read on the airplane, but it's definitely a Bets on selection. It was one of our summer reading choices. And also, I just interviewed TJ, who is absolutely terrific. So much fun to talk to. Her last books were Falling and Drowning. All the books have the same kind of branding cover to them. So what have we got here? A pilot suffers a heart attack at 35,000 feet. A commercial airliner filled with passengers crashes into a nuclear power plant in a small town of Okita, Minnesota, which becomes ground zero for a catastrophic national crisis with global implications. The International Nuclear Events Scale tracks nuclear disasters. It has 7 levels. 7 is a major accident with only 2 on record, Fukushima and Chernobyl. There's never been a level 8 until now. And in worst case scenario, ordinary people, power plant executives, employees, firefighters, teachers, families, neighbors, and friends are thrust into extraordinary situation as they face the ultimate test of their lives. It's so interesting because the book is not just about the plane crash. It's what happens down below and what would happen if a nuclear plant was hit. She did a ton of research on this. One of the things that happens in the hospital actually would have played out that way. My son works with switches, and he says that's exactly what happened if the power went out for that 10 seconds or whatever it is before a generator goes on. Does a great job with this book because what she really gets you, forget about all the science and everything behind it. She gets you with really in place with the people. And you want to see how these ordinary people in this small town, which is really cut off for everybody else at this point, are going to come together to figure out the solution. Absolutely so well done as far as character building. Next, from William Kent Kruger, we've got Spirit Crossing. This is going to be one of our fall reading selections. It's a word of mouth prize. Once again, like Jody's book, you can go out and tell us what you're reading right now and be entered to win one of 3 copies of this book. We've got it for fall reading, and it's a new release spotlight. It's once again, Kent is moving his writing of his Cork O'Connor series in a really interesting direction. The disappearance of a local politician's teenage daughter is major news in Minnesota. As a huge manhunt is launched to find her, Cork O'Connor's grandson stumbles across the shallow grave, a young Ojibwe woman, but nobody seems that interested. Nobody, that is, except Cork and the newly formed Iron Lake Ojibwe tribal police. As Cork and the tribal officers dig into the circumstances of the mysterious and grim discovery, they uncover a connection to the missing teenager. And soon it's clear that Cork's grandson is in danger of becoming the killer's next victim. Debbie, who is one of our readers of all the time, who is on our Bookaccino live events in the evening, said that she read this and she cried towards the end because, yes, something really big happens. Next, we've got This Is Why I Lied by Karen Slaughter, coming on August 20th. For GBI investigator Will Trent and the medical examiner Sarah Linton, McAlpine Lodge seems like the ideal getaway to celebrate their honeymoon. Set on a gorgeous off-the-grid mountaintop property, it's a perfect place to unplug and reconnect until a bone-chilling scream cuts through the night. Mercy McAlpine, the manager of the lodge, is dead. With a vicious storm raging and one access road to the property washed out, the murderer must be someone on the mountain. But as Will and Sarah investigate the McAlpine family and the other guests, they realize that everyone here is lying about their past, lying to their family, lying to themselves. Trapped at the resort, Will and Sarah must untangle a decades-old web of secrets to discover what happened to Mercy. And with the killer poised to strike again, the trip of a lifetime becomes a race against the clock. I love the title of this. This is Why We Lied. Next, we've got Voyage of the Damned by Frances White, coming also on the 20th. For 1,000 years, Concordia has maintained peace between its provinces. To mark this incredible feat, the emperor's ship embarks upon a 12-day voyage to the sacred goddess's mountain. Aboard are the 12 heirs to the provinces of Concordia, each graced with a unique and secret magical ability known as a blessing. Except one, Ganymedes Pissarro, class clown, slacker, and all-around disappointment. When beloved heir is murdered, everyone is a suspect. Stuck at sea and surrounded by powerful people and without a blessing to protect him, Ganymedes' odds to survival are slim. The bodies pile higher. Ganymedes must become the hero he was not born to be. And when you see in the bottom book group speed dating, this is one of the book group speed dating event that we did with publishers earlier in May. And these are books that they've sort of flagged that they think people are going to be interested in. So we've got Fatal Intrusion by Jeffrey Deaver and Isabella Maldonado. I just got a copy of this when I got home yesterday. It's coming out on September 1st. Carmen Sanchez is a tough Homeland Security agent who plays by the rules. But when her sister is attacked, revealing a connection to a series of murders across Southern California, she realizes that a conventional investigation will not be enough to stop the ruthless perpetrator. With nowhere else to turn, Sanchez enlists the aid of Professor Jake Heron, a beautiful and quirky private security expert who, unlike Sanchez, believes rules are merely suggestions. The two have a troubled past, but he owes her a favor and she's cashing in. They team up to catch the assailant, who mystifyingly has no discernible motive and fits no classic criminal profile. All they have to go on is a distinct tattoo and a singular obsession that gives this chillingly efficient tactician his nickname, Spider. Over the next 72 hours, Sanchez and Heron find themselves in the midst of a lethal chess match with the killer as they race to stop the carnage. So there you've got Fatal Intrusion. Great cover. Next, we've got Death at the Sign of the Rook by Kate Atkinson, which is coming on September 3rd. It's the highly anticipated sixth installment in Kate's Jackson Brodie series, and it's paying homage to the masters of mystery genre, from Agatha Christie and Dorothy Sayers to the modern era of Knives Out and Only Murders in the Building. In sleepy Yorkshire town, ex-detective Jackson Brodie is staving off boredom and malaise. His only case is the seemingly tedious matter of a stolen painting. But Jackson soon uncovers a string of unsolved art thefts that lead him down a dizzying spiral of disguise and deceit to Burton Makepeace, a formerly magnificent estate now partially converted into a hotel hosting murder mystery weekends. I'm telling you, I would really like to go on a murder mystery weekend, but I don't think I would be very good at still figuring out the clues. I probably would be the one that would end up dead. Next, from Lee Child, we've got Safe Enough coming on September 3rd. This is a collection of short stories coming from Mysterious Press. And over the last 20 years, he's been one of the best-selling authors in the world, thanks to the popularity of his hero, Jack Reacher. But even at the height of his Reacher fame, his short story writing was not confined to the series. Throughout the course of his career, he published tales about a range of characters on both sides of the law, including assassins, bodyguards, CIA and FBI agents, gangsters, and more. Meticulously plotted and packed with Charles' trademark action and suspense, the stories show his mastery of the short form. They've never been collected before now. So there's a way to read all his little short stories. Next, we've got some memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction. This is Drawn Testimony. It's out this week by Hanover Square Press. It was one of the book group speed dating titles. I think this is such an interesting book. For over 40 years, Jane Rosenberg has been at the heart of the news cycle, covering almost every major trial that has passed through the New York justice system as a courtroom sketch artist, including the most recent trial of Donald Trump's hush money. In Drawn Testimony, Rosenberg brings us into the dramatic, high-stakes world of her craft, where art, psychology, and courtroom drama collide. Over the course of her legendary career, she's had a front row seat to some of the most iconic and notorious moments in our nation's recent history, and readers will learn how she honed her unique powers of perception and what her portraits reveal, not just about her subjects, but about human conditions in general. I really love this because just think about somebody who spent 40 years walking into the courtroom and figuring out who I need to portray, how I'm going to portray them, facial expressions, hands up like you see the person in the jury box, the judge leaning over to somebody, and she's there sketching all this, and think how quickly it needs to happen. Something really fun to think about. Next, we've got Men Have Called Her Crazy by Anna Marie Tendler. In early 2021, popular artist Anna Marie Tendler checked herself into a psychiatric hospital following a year of crippling anxiety, depression, and self-harm. Over 2 weeks, she underwent myriad psychological tests, participated in numerous therapy sessions, connected with fellow patients, and experienced profound breakthroughs. And men have called her crazy. Tendler recounts her hospital experience, as well as pivotal moments in her life that preceded and followed. As the title suggests, many of these moments are impacted by men. Unrequited love in high school, the 28-year-old she lost her virginity to when she was 16, the frustrations and absurdities of dating in her mid-30s, and her decision to freeze her eggs as all her friends were starting families. So there you've got men have called her crazy. Next, we've got Out of the Darkness by Ian O'Connor. Aaron Rodgers is among the 2 or 3 most talented players to ever hold the most important job in American team sports, quarterback. He also stands as the most mysterious and polarizing figure in modern-day national pastime that is American football. From his controversial COVID stance to his methods of spiritual awakening, to his estrangement from his family, to his high-profile romances, to his devastating Achilles injury, a mere 4 plays. Yes, 4 plays, folks. We all remember this. In his New York Jets career, he has long dominated the NFL's news cycle. Ian O'Connor uses hundreds of original interviews to pull back the curtain and answer the most penetrating questions about the league's most enigmatic player. He sees all sides of an all-time great and delivers a portrait of a complex man that will forever shape the way he is viewed. Personally, people in the New York area are wondering if he's going to get past 4 plays this year. That was absolutely incredible last year. I was watching, I was like, are you kidding me? Your whole career is out now. How much did they pay for you? So there you go, Out of the Darkness. Next, we've got That Librarian by Amanda Jones, coming on August 27th. 1922, when small-time librarian Amanda Jones caught wind of a local public hearing that would discuss book content, she knew it was at stake. Schools and libraries nationwide have been bombarded by demands for books with LGBTQ plus references, discussions of racism, and more to be purged from their shelves. Amanda would be damned if her community were to ban stories representing minority groups. She spoke out that night at the meeting. Days later, she woke up to a nightmare that is still ongoing. Amanda Jones has been called a groomer, a pedophile, a porn pusher. She has faced death threats and attacks from strangers and friends alike. But she wouldn't give up without a fight. She sued her harassers for defamation and urged others to join her in the resistance. And it's really interesting that the resistance we're talking about right now is the inability for some places to be showing books and having books enjoyed. We went through this in our town a couple of years ago, and it was really polarizing to see how people felt about a graphic novel that literally had 2 pages that were objectionable. But the story that came out of this and the uproar within the town was absolutely incredible. And I found it really interesting also because you have to think of the ages of people involved. And the book in question here was a book that was being read by second semester, actually 4th quarter seniors who in a few months would be going off to college, and no one there would be saying what you read or don't read. And I found the whole controversy to be so interesting just because they were all of legal age, all these kinds of things. And where were we on this graphic novel with 2 pages of pictures that I'm sure that most people had seen on the internet by now. Okay, so there's my rant on that. They didn't look in the mirror already. Okay, now we've got Becoming Elizabeth Arden by Stacey A. Cordery. It's coming on September 3rd. She was a household name on 6 continents and a millionaire several times over before her death in 1966. She counted British royalty and social elites from the overlapping worlds of New York, Hollywood, London, and Paris among her clients. She revolutionized skincare and cosmetics, making it acceptable for all women to embrace glamour and wear makeup. She created a successful international business empire before women gained the vote at a time when virtually no woman owned or ran a national company. She developed the first luxury spa and insisted on a holistic understanding of health and beauty. Acclaimed biographer Stacey Cordery does full justice to one of America's great entrepreneurs, delivering a compelling picture of a modern CEO whose career provides a model for aspiring businesses to this day. I love stories about these women that really changed things years ago and sort of broke through the ceiling and said, we're going to do the story, like Estee Lauder, Elizabeth Arden. We've got the story of what we want to tell about beauty and women. Next, we got We're Alone by Edwidge Dandicott. It's coming on September 3rd. Tracing a loose arc from Edwidge's childhood to the COVID-19 pandemic and recent events in Haiti, these essays gathered in We're Alone include personal narrative, reportage, and tributes to mentors and heroes such as Toni Morrison, Paul Marshall, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and James Baldwin that explore several abiding themes: environmental catastrophe, the traumas of colonialism, motherhood, and the complexities of resilience. From hurricanes to political violence, from her days as a new student at a Brooklyn elementary school knowing little English to her account of a shooting hoax at a Miami mall, Dandicott has extraordinary ability to move from the personal to the global and back again. Throughout, literature and art proved to be her reliable companions and guides in both tragedies and triumphs. So there's We're Alone. A group of October titles to look forward to. There's not that much coming out in August, so we want to plug in some October titles that you can pre-order, sign up for your libraries. So here we go with those. First book I am very excited about reading. It's Be Ready When Luck Happens by Ina Garten. It's coming on October 1st. And here for the first time, she presents an intimate, entertaining, and inspiring account of her remarkable journey. Her gift is to make everything look easy, yet all her accomplishments have been the result of hard work, audacious choices, and exquisite attention to detail. In her unmistakable voice, no one tells a story like Ina. She brings her past and her process to life in a high-spirited and no-holds-barred memoir that chronicles decades of personal challenges, adventures, and misadventures, and unexpected career twists, all delivered with her signature combination of playfulness and purpose. What I really love is that, yes, she's going to talk about misadventures as well, because anybody who gets to her point in life, wasn't all smooth along the way. And I love hearing the detours or the things that just didn't go right. Next, we've got The Mighty Red by Louise Erdrich. It's coming on October 1st. In Argus, North Dakota, a collection of people revolve around a fraught wedding. Gary Geist, a terrified young man, is set to inherit 2 farms, and he's desperate to marry Kismet Poe, an impulsive lapsed goth who can't read her future but seems to resolve his. Hugo, a gentle red-haired homeschool giant, is also in love with Kismet. He's determined to steal her and is eager to be a homewrecker. Kismet's mother, Crystal, holds sugar beets for Gary's family, and on her nightly runs, she tunes into the darkness of late-night radio, sees visions of guardian angels, and worries for the future, her daughters and her own. So there we've got The Mighty Red. Next, we've got from Nita Prose, who I know is a favorite of so many of you, a novella, The Mistletoe Mystery, coming on October 1st. Molly Gray has always loved the holidays. When Molly was a child, her gran went to great lengths to make the season merry and bright, full of cherished traditions. The first few Christmases without Gran were hard on Molly, but this year, her beloved boyfriend and fellow festive spirit, Juan Manuel, is intent on making the season her most joyful yet. But when a secret Santa gift exchange at the Regency Grand Hotel raises questions about who Molly can and cannot trust, she dives headfirst into solving her most consequential and personal mystery yet. She has a bad feeling about things and she starts to wonder, has she again mistaken a frog for a prince? So there you've got The Mistletoe Mystery. She also has a new book coming next April, so everybody be ready for that as well. Next, we've got the sequel by Jane Hanff Corlins. I'm dying to dive into this one. It's coming on October 1st. Yes, it's the sequel to The Plot. Anna Williams Bonner has taken care of business. That's to say, she's taking care of her husband, best-selling novelist Jacob Finch Bonner, and laid to rest those anonymous accusations of plagiarism that so tormented him. Now she's living the contented life of a literary widow, enjoying her husband's royalty checks in perpetuity, and for the second time in her life, a work of fiction intercedes, and this time it's her own debut novel, The Afterword. When Anna publishes her book and indulges in her own literary acclaim, she begins to receive excerpts of a novel she never expected to see again. It is a novel that should no longer exist. Someone out there knows far too much about her late brother, her late husband, and just possibly Anna herself. What does this person want, and what are they prepared to do? She has to come so far. She's worked too hard, and to lose what she values most, the sole and uncontested rights to her own story. So, there goes the sequel. And yes, there's blood on the cover. Next, we've got From Here to the Great Unknown by Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Kehoe. 2022, Lisa Marie Presley asked her daughter to help her finally finish her long gestating memoir. A month later, Lisa Marie was dead, and the world would never know her story in her own words, never know the passionate, joyful, and caring, complicated woman who Riley loved and now grieved. Riley got the tapes that her mother had recorded for the book, lay in her bed, and listened as Lisa Marie told story after story. Riley knew she had to fulfill her mother's wish to reveal these memories, incandescent and painful to the world, to make her mother known. This extraordinary book is written in both Lisa Marie's and Riley's voices, a mother and daughter communicating from this world to the one beyond as they try to heal each other. Next, from Patricia Cornwell, we've got Identity Unknown coming on October 8th. Summoned to an abandoned theme park to retrieve a body, Dr. Kay Scarpetta is devastated to learn that the victim is a man she once had a tense love affair with. The murder scene is bizarre, a crop circle of petals around the body, and Giordano's skin is strangely red. Scarpetta's niece, Lucy, believes he was dropped from an unidentified flying craft. Scarpetta knows an autopsy can reveal the dead's secrets, but she's shocked to find that her friend seems to have deliberately left her a clue. The investigators are torn between suspicions of otherworld forces and Giordano himself. Scarpetta detects an explanation closer to home that in her mind is far more evil. So there we've got Identity Unknown until she finds out who he is. Next, we've got The Love Elixir of Augusta Stern by Linda Cohen-Loigman. This is going to be one of our fall reading selections. On the cusp of turning 80, a newly retired pharmacist, Augusta Stern, is adrift. When she relocates to Rolantado Springs, an active senior committee in southern Florida, she unexpectedly crosses paths with Irving Rifkin, the delivery boy from her father's old pharmacy, and the man who broke her heart 60 years ago. Augusta's still haunted by the mistakes of her past. What happened all those years ago? And how did the plan involving her great Aunt Esther's most potent elixir go so spectacularly wrong? Did Irving ever really love her, or was he simply playing a part? And can Augusta reclaim the magic of her youth before it's too late? So there we've got The Love Elixir of Augusta Stern. What Does It Feel Like by Sophie Kinsella. I started reading this one, and there's a lot to think about here. It's on sale on October 8th. Eve is a successful novelist who wakes up one day in a hospital bed with no memory of how she got there. Her husband explains that she had an operation to remove a large malignant tumor growing in her brain. So Eve learns to walk, talk, and write again, and as she wrestles with her diagnosis and how and when to explain it to her beloved children, she begins to recall what's most important to her: long walks with her husband's hand clasped firmly in her own, family game nights, and always buying that dress when she sees it. Recounted in brief anecdotes, each one is an attempt to answer the type of impossible questions, recognizing anyone who is navigating the labyrinth of grief. Sophie herself has been diagnosed with glioblastoma. I believe it was 2 years ago, and she waited to talk about it until she had her young children get their heads wrapped around what's going on. So this is a very personal novel about a story that she knows way too much about. It's coming October 8th. Next, we've got Framed by John Grisham and Jim McCloskey, which is coming on October 15th. John Grisham is known worldwide for his best-selling novels, but his real-life passion for justice led to his work with Jim McCloskey of Centurion Ministries, the first organization dedicated to exonerating innocent people who have been wrongly convicted. Together, they offer an inside look at the many injustices in our criminal justice system. Fundamental principle of our legal system is the presumption of innocence. But once someone has been found guilty, there's very little room to prove doubt. These 10 true stories shed light on Americans who were innocent but found guilty and forced to sacrifice friends, families, and decades of their lives to prison while the guilty parties remained free. So these are astonishing true stories of wrongful convictions. Next, we've got The Great Hippopotamus Hotel by Alexander McCall Smith. It's coming on October 15th. And the rolling hills just outside Gaborone, surrounded by a grove of acacia trees, lives the Great Hippopotamus Hotel, with spacious rooms overlooking the Botswanian countryside and a fine and loyal staff. The hotel has served as a refuge to weary travelers for many years. But a sudden string of misfortunes threatens to ruin the hotel's reputation. Food poisoning befalls an unlucky diner. Laundry mysteriously disappears from the drying line, and a scorpion stings one of the guests. It appears that something foul is afoot. Well, Mademoiselle Ratswamy and Mademoiselle Makusut, I can read this when I'm doing the book, Makutsi, there it is, are on the case to find out who could be responsible for these unfortunate events. But the answer at first seems clear, especially when they find out that Violet Simpotho is involved. But if they dig deeper, they realize that the solution is not as simple as it initially seems. I love when their series ran on one of the cable channels. I just thought it was so much fun for the new ladies detective agency novel. I just really, really enjoy this. The number one ladies detective novel. Then we've got Libby Lost and Found by Stephanie Booth. And this is also a fall reading title. Libby Weeks is the author of the mega best-selling fantasy series, The Falling Children, writing as FT Gold Hero to maintain her privacy. And the last manuscript is already months overdue to her publisher, and Raven fans around the world are growing impatient. Libby is diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. Already suffering from crippling anxiety, her symptoms quickly accelerate. After she forgets her dog at the park one day, then almost discloses her identity to the journalist who finds him, Libby has to admit it. She needs help finishing her book. Desperately, she turns to 11-year-old superfan Peanut Bixton, who knows the books even better than she does, but harbors her own dark secrets. Tensions mount as Libby's dementia deepens until both Peanut and Libby swirl into the inevitable but bone-shocking conclusion. So there we've got Lost and Found. And for Michael Connolly, we've got The Waiting. And this is a Ballard and Bosch novel coming on October 15th. Renee Ballard and the LAPD's Open Unsolved Unit get a hotshot DNA connection between a recently arrested man and a serial rapist and murderer who went quiet 20 years ago. The arrested man is only 24, so the genetic link must be familial. His father was the pillowcase rapist, responsible for a 5-year reign of terror in the City of Angels. But when Ballard and her team move in on the suspect, they encounter a baffling web of secrets and legal hurdles. Meanwhile, Ballard's badge, gun, and ID are stolen, a theft she can't report without giving her enemies in the department ammunition to end her career as a detective. She works a burglary alone, but her mission draws her into unexpected danger. With no choice but to go outside the department for help, she knocks on the door of Harry Bosch. At the same time, Ballard takes a new volunteer onto the cold case unit, Bosch's daughter, Maddie. Now a patrol officer, but Maddie has an ulterior motive for getting access to the city's Library of Lost Souls, a case that may be the most iconic in the city's history. I can actually picture the characters from the shows here as I read. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I am doing that. Next, from In Too Deep from Lee Child and Andrew Child. Okay, let's go over this once again, folks. Note that Lee Child's name is the biggest on the page. In Too Deep is second. And then we've got Andrew and Reacher, probably the same type font. Remember, we did that study last year as well. Okay, now that we're clear, it's a Lee Child book. Jack Reacher wakes up alone in the dark, handcuffed to a makeshift bed. His right arm has suffered some major damage. His few possessions are gone. He has no memory of getting there. The last thing Reacher can recall is the car in which he hitched a ride, getting run off the road. The driver was killed. His captors assume Reacher was the driver's accomplice, patch up his wounds as they plan to make him talk, a plan that will backfire spectacularly. So here you've got In Too Deep. Actually, on this one, I believe that almost all the writing of it was done by Andrew Child. So there you go, your latest Lee Child book. Next, we've got In the Blue Hour by Paula Hawkins. I've been dying to read this one. It's not coming till October 29th. And unfortunately, I'm trying to read in somewhat order right now. Welcome to Eris, an island with only one house, one inhabitant, one way out. unreachable from the Scottish mainland for 12 hours each day. Once home to Vanessa, a famous artist whose notoriously unfaithful husband disappeared 20 years ago. Now home to Grace, a solitary creature of the tides, content with her own isolation. But when a shocking discovery is made in an art gallery far away in London, a visitor comes calling, and the secrets of Eris threaten to emerge. So there you've got The Blue Hour. And next from Louise Penny, coming on October 29th, we've got The Gray Wolf. Relentless phone calls interrupt a piece of a warm August morning in Three Pines. Though the tiny Quebec village is impossible to find on any map, someone has managed to track down Armand Gamache, head of homicide in the Surrey, as he sits with his wife in their back garden. Renee Marie watches with increasingly unease as her husband refuses to pick up, though he clearly knows who is on the other end. When he finally answers, his rage shatters the calm of their quiet Sunday morning. That's only the first in a series of strange events that begin The Gray Wolf. A missing coat, an intruder alarm, a note of Gamache reading, "This might interest you," a puzzling scrap of paper with a mysterious list, and then, of course, a murder. All propelled Chief Inspector Gamache and his team towards a terrible realization: something far more sinister than any one murder or any one case is fast approaching. Next, we've got Like Mother by Susan Rieger. It's one of the speed dating titles. I read about half of this book before I had to stop and go back to reading books in order, which I'm trying to do. It's terrific. It really is. Coming on October 29th. In Detroit in 1960, Lyra Pereira is 2 years old when her angry, abusive father has her mother committed to an asylum. Lyra never sees her mother again. Three decades later, having mustered everything she has, she rises to the pinnacle of American media as the powerful, brilliant executive editor of the Washington Globe. Lyra unapologetically prioritizes her career, leaving the rearing of her daughters to her generous husband, Joe. Grace, their youngest daughter, feels abandoned. She wishes her mother would attend PTA meetings, not White House Correspondents' dinners. And as she grew up, she can't shake that resentment. She wants out from under Lyra's shadow. Yet even more that she resists, the more Lyra seems to shape her life. Grace becomes a successful reporter, even publishing a best-selling book about her mother. And in the process of writing it, she realizes how little she knows about her own family. Really, really interesting book, because the setup is this woman is so powerful. Her daughter sort of stands in her shadow, and then she's gone. And then where do we go from there? Very, very, very well done. Okay, these are the notable August paperback releases. We've got Bright Young Women, which I interviewed Jessica Knoll about. California Golden, a book about surfing by Melanie Benjamin. I interviewed her. Jennifer Chiaverini on Canary Girls. Richard Osman's The Last Devil to Die. One Wrong Word by Hank Phillippe Ryan. I interviewed her about that book. A Promised Land by Barack Obama. I thought that was out already. I'm surprised. The Sisterhood by Liza Mundy. Lisa Scottolini's The Truth About the Devlins. Craig Johnson's The Longmire Fair. Mark Rainey, The Chaos Agent. Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Finally out in paperback, everybody. Michael Lewis, Going Infinite. So there you've got some notable paperback releases. Then we have 27 of my bets on selections so far. We're adding Jackie. Let's see, since the last time we were here, let me think what I added. Bad Tourists, All the Colors of the Dark. Bad Tourists, The Lion Woman of Tehran, The Cliffs, The God of the Woods, Jackie, Days I Loved You Most, the Sherry LaPena book, Boss Lady, and Worst Case Scenario. So we've got 27 so far. Remember, we're going to run a year-end contest where somebody can win all of the titles that I read here. Interesting, on my trip, just seeing Lisa Wingate's book right here, Shelterwood. I caught up with her on the last day when we were away. We had a fabulous time just sitting around chatting about publishing. She lives in both Texas and Colorado. And we had a lot of fun talking about what Colorado's like to live in when you're, able to live there for half the year as well. So lots of really terrific books, but it was also lots of really a fun getaway where we saw Shelley Reed, who wrote Go as a River, and she sent us up to Paonia to a peach farm where we bought some beautiful peaches, and we went to see with Lisa C. in Aspen in her beautiful, beautiful home, and then caught Lisa Wingate, and then because like even the last night we were doing something, we caught up with one of the people who works at the company that does our book group speed dating events. So it was one of those chock full busy trips. Here are some recent Book Reporter Talks to videos and podcasts. Dawn Tripp talking about Jackie. The voice in this book is extraordinary. Friends that are reading it right now after watching the interview, and they said, it's so well done. And I agree about the book. Beatrice and Williams with Husbands and Lovers. Amy Neff, The Day I Loved You Most. I really enjoyed this book, The Days I Loved You Most. It's one of those books that I was actually hand selling it when I was in a bookstore out in Colorado. Kara Carver's Bad Tourist. And we just added my interview with TJ Newman. So there's what you've got. Lots of listening. Okay, what's your book group rating this month? Okay, we're doing something interesting once again. You can win up to 12 paperbacks for your book group by jumping on Reading Group Guides, going to the What You're Reading this month contest, and telling us what you're reading for the opportunity to win 12 copies of this book for you to discuss with your book group. So we had really great reaction the last time we did this. A lot of people shared pictures of how they were giving out the books. We're including one in the next Reading Group Guide newsletter as well. So you want to win something fun for your book club or for 12 people that you know that you think would like to talk about a book with you or enjoy a book with you. The time to do this is now. And we're going to do a special evening, a Bookaccino Live Fall Preview event. We're going to do this as an evening event because we know a lot of people can't join during the day. It will be happening on Wednesday, September 18th at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And you'll be able to sign up on Book Reporter and Reading Group Guides later today. And those who are attending live will get links to this in the follow-up emails. And here's to some great reading. Our next Bookaccino Live preview event will be happening on it will be on Wednesday, September 11th. It's a preview of books releasing from September 10th through October 1st and a peek ahead at November. And that's as far as I'm going to go. Okay. So we look forward to seeing you there, and everybody else, we look forward to seeing you next time.